Despite Anthony Joshua not being part of the May 18 Undisputed decider between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, and also not being part of the June 1 card boxing for Eddie Hearn, who's his career-long promoter and advisor, the lay of the land at the minute probably could not be any more beneficial to AJ, because there is a strong suggestion that this September huge Wembley show will be headlined by him, and that it will be for one of two fights. Whoever wins out of Fury and Usyk crowns an undisputed heavyweight 4-belt ruler. But I think Filip Hrgovic has been made to hang around for so long for the IBF title that I think the winner will be stripped of that belt, which would make a rematch not for undisputed. And I think that Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois on the 5v5 will be for the vacant IBF title. And I think that as long as the winner comes through without any cuts or damage, I think they will walk into an Anthony Joshua September fight for the IBF title. And I think AJ has earned that because he took the Wallin fight on, I think, 5 weeks' notice, took on a southpaw, which he'd famously struggled with, put on a great show. He then signed up to the Ngannou fight, which he'd really sort of distanced himself from in the past, put on a spectacular performance. So I think he's very in favour with the Saudis, and they want to reward him. And I still think that there is this outside shot that despite the Fury-Usyk negotiations that were sort of 18 months, 2 postponements, so much of that hinged on the rematch clauses, the rematch percentages. But I do get this suspicion that Saudi want to see Fury AJ, and that Turki Al Sheikh wants to see Fury AJ. And if Fury Usyk 2, the rematch, isn't for all the belts, then there isn't a clamour for it. And I know we got Fury last week in Morecambe where he said, this fight's May 18, and the second one is October or November, and it's got to happen because the contracts is so strict. Because he's been through contracts and rows and arbitrations with Deontay Wilder and lost money and lost fights, but there is a nagging suggestion around and a vibe that I'm getting that AJ will either fight for the IBF world title at Wembley in September, or he'll fight Tyson Fury. Like all of these events, all of the protagonists are thanking Saudi Arabia, MBS, Turki Al Sheikh, and the Riyadh season, and Seller, the Newcastle sponsors who create the events. I think all these Riyadh ones have been to celebrate the Riyadh season. We did the Diriyah season with AJ before. I know there is, I believe, a Jeddah season for a few months that we haven't even never talked about having a boxing one. I think maybe Callum Smith and George Groves was in Jeddah, might have been for Jeddah season. But what I understand is that my son's playing a flute at the moment, despite me saying I just need you to be quiet for 1 minute. A flute? Are you kidding me? I think they will be Saudi-run, Saudi-sponsored, certainly the main event. And I think all the advertising will be Saudi, and all the thanks will go to Saudi. But they will be happening in the UK. And I think what that will also help with is atmosphere, because we cannot shy away from the fact that Saudi is a very new country. These huge events happening on their doorstep, in their city, is incredibly new. There is no alcohol. But I do feel now that by doing something in September at Wembley, 90,000 people, with Anthony Joshua at the top, it's going to be a spectacular event, and they can have all their branding and naming on it. So it's win-win for them. You know, they've put on huge events that everyone who lives in Riyadh or lives in Saudi can attend, but perhaps not created a giant spectacle like a Rumble in the Jungle or Thriller Manila or Fight of the Century. Again, I'm not in any way sort of comparing those things, but they haven't created a startling event, a spectacle But we've seen 90,000 fans at Wembley. We've seen what those nights can do, and imagine what they would be like with the Saudi money, and their sort of willingness and desire to stun and amaze and impress people.